speaking of insane, AEW, they're showing Wembley, dude. Coming up later, I think in August. They're pre-sale. They've already sold over 70,000 tickets, dude. Like this thing is becoming a monster.
This is I believe right now we are the second I think it's the first or second highest grossing outside WWE event ever, right?
I think it's yeah, I think they're going to have to when they do the math, the historians are going to get together and account for inflation, right? And
Right.
so they're going
Have
to
to.
do all of that. Yeah, you have to for context, right? Because $1 million today, was it $1 million, 100 years ago? So you have to do that. But as far as attendance goes, like this is just an absolute monster. And then of course you add all the money that's involved. Like AEW really hit a grand slam.
They really not Grand Slam. That's a different event. No, I mean they
Yeah.
really. I mean, Dave Meltzer was saying they should run more stadium shows because they have not run one in the U.S. The closest they did was those Arthur Ashe shows. Like Dave said back in 2021 that they screwed up, or 2019 right away. He said they screwed up by not running the original All Out at Soldier Field because they could have sold it out. And he's right. They could have, but now stuff's been played over here, and you only get one chance to make a first impression. They're going to make a hell of a first impression when they get out
Yeah.
there. They're going to have like 75, 80,000 plus people when they get there. I don't know if they're going to sell the thing out. That's a hard ask, but it's incredible. Like I know there's people that are going to dismiss it for whatever reason because they like WWE better. Hi, Scott. But it's a massive, massive undertaking to pull this off without having announced a single match. I
That
mean,
that's the that's the thing to me, and that's kind of goes in line with what we've been talking about here for a long time. The matches and the wrestlers, they're not as important anymore as the brand and the logo, right?
the
And
brand is the draw.
AEW is the draw. This is the
Mm-hmm.
first time on that continent, and everybody wants to come and see it, and now they just have to deliver, and I think that they will.
Well, when it comes to pure wrestling, their shows are always fantastic, right? Especially the pay per views. They're always really good. I remember going last year into the Door show. People were like, I don't know. This promotion's super cold. And the Door was like the best show of the year last year, right?
Yeah.
All Out was a good show. The Aftermath was a shit show. But like, I think that this is something special. And I think that to run two major shows like this on two different continents back to back weeks means you're coordinating something. And we've got friends that are telling us their TV deal. Like we all know Collision's coming up. Their TV deal should be announced with the upfronts coming up on the 17th. And I think that I think from what we're told, I think there's going to be some major changes into what this promotion is that will set it up for success for a long time to come, man. And it's exciting because that means they did it. That means they were able to become WCW, and that means is they actually are WCW now because they oftentimes have the same mistakes that WCW had. But
Yeah.
WCW never did a show with 70,000 people.
No, no. Well, unless you count North Korea, but that was
That
a Nookie
wasn't a
show.
WCW show,
I know, I
and those
know.
people had no
Yeah.
choice. They had to. That was a New Japan
It-
show.
yeah. Well, no, it wasn't even a New Japan. It was an Inoki thing, right? Because I don't
I
think
thought it was.
a New Japan endorsed the show. This was like Inoki going off on his own. That was my understanding
Yeah,
from
I
the
don't know.
aforementioned Vice documentary series. But um,
I'm not sure. Either
so
way, it's
I
huge.
Yeah, there's a lot of chatter about them getting a big TV deal coming up, with this collision, because of course you got to renegotiate contracts. So, and if you're going to add 2 more hours of programming, that's going to cost a lot more money. And they're probably going to be very, very happy with the money that they're getting from WWE going or WBD, sorry, going forward. The thing that's interesting to me is there's lots of rumors out there that this All In show is going to be on Max or HBO Max or whatever they're
Mhm.
going to be calling it. And I think that's really cool because they're blatantly stating that this is not a pay-per-view.
I think that's very interesting, and I don't think it's a coincidence that this talk has started to increase because I've heard some stories. I don't know if they're legit or not, but I've heard stories that all their pay per views will move to Max. Don't know if that's real or not, but I don't think it's a coincidence that WWE's uptick in popularity came when they moved exclusively to Peacock. Now, you can sit there and tell me that Triple H is the greatest booker of all time, and I'm not going to dispute the success of the Bloodline story. But it's a lot of it's the same stuff they've been doing for the last 2 years. The difference is their visibility is much, much greater. And you look at Peacock's, don't look at their financial numbers because they're not good, but you look at their outreach numbers and they're insane. So just so many more people have access, and having access to a program it only makes things go up. Like you and I cover Impact every week, and the biggest problem with Impact is literally access. Right. And it's either access or access, the company, like the both of them are the problem is it's not in a lot of homes. So like you don't have a chance to pull in new people. So the fact that if this does happen, if they move to Max, I do think you'll see, I don't know if you're going to see a boom, that who can predict that, but I do think you'll see an upturn with things. And, they gotta get better, but it seems like Tony Khan is addressing problems with the company. Will Washington was hired to be I don't know what his title. I don't know what his title is. Sometimes creative position.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot. He's going to be in a lot of. I think he's just like an administrator or an executive administrator or something to that effect. But he's going to be wearing a lot of hats. He's going to be helping with creative. He's going to be doing promotions, sales, marketing, human resources or something like that. Talent relations is what they're saying. So I thought that hire was pretty interesting, and I like the hire. We have mutual friends of his, so everybody has good things to say about him. But yeah, so with AEW possibly All In being on Max, and maybe all their pay-per-views going to Max.
Maybe
I checked today, and Discovery and HBO Max combined. They haven't combined yet, the app. But the two separate apps together right now collectively have 91 million subscribers globally, right? And if that can become the absolute hub, right, which means that AEW would have to pull their stuff off of streaming services around the world, or they can geotag it and just keep their deals that they have globally. But if you're looking at it, if they just go to this app that's coming up, this super app that's coming up, they have 91 global subscribers. That puts them way ahead of WWE's pay-per-views, because Peacock is only in about 22 million homes, I would say, right now. So like HBO Max or Max and Discovery Plus, like they're way ahead, and that's going to give their pay-per-views a lot more visibility.
Well, I mean, the math is fuzzy because like how many of those subscribers are doubled, right? How many people have both Discovery and Max?
Yes,
right?
yes. So yeah, but I think that was the reason why they changed the name, because they didn't feel like there was a lot of crossover between the two.
Well, that's true. Interesting too. Is like they also said that Discovery Plus has a lot of passive viewers, meaning that like people buy it and they just keep it. Whereas HBO Max tends to have a lot of churn. There's people that come in and out. Oh, Game of Thrones is going on, or what was House of the Dragons up? I'm going to sub for a couple months and then I'm out. Oh, Last of Us is on. Okay, I'm going to sub for a couple months and then I'm out. Because let's be honest, people like us are a little bit more driven by what's on there, as opposed to like someone who likes all the Discovery shit. Be like, yeah, I watch it all. So what they want to do, and we've talked about this on the show, but I'll reiterate, they want a little bit of everything. They want what Peacock has, and Peacock's platform, again, it's hard to draw the numbers because they're still creating, like Justin was talking about, they're in creation mode, right? They're just trying to generate content right now. But Peacock has sports, it has movies, it has TV, like it's a lot of everything. It's like its own cable network, right? And it seems like that's the model Max is trying to go after, as opposed to what Disney has. Disney has its own thing, but it's really concentrating to what Disney does, right? Disney also owns ESPN Plus, so they're fine doing what they do, but nobody should model what Disney is doing with ESPN Plus and Disney Max.
Because they're the exception, not the rule.
They are, exactly. And modeling, I think too many companies have tried to model what they're doing, and I think Peacock is an interesting model to do. I think that the only people that could really do it this way is Discovery, because they have so much. But they also, I think they think that there's enough AEW fans that will jump on and we'll watch pay-per-views every month or monthly specials. Like, if the Battle of Belts can be a real thing or something like that. Like, again, you need a hefty TV investment, but I already get Max. So You know,
Yeah.
I'm way more. I'm again, just because you pay it doesn't mean that's the end all be all. Is they want that network engagement. The dollars are
Mhm.
nice, but they want to be able to, because they're a publicly traded company, they want to be able to show how much engagement you have with it. Oh, we have
Mhm.
our subscriber base has this many hours, right? And just having it is nice, but I mean, you want to show growth. You want to show that people are interacting with your model, because eventually people who don't interact with the model go, I'm going to lose it, much like myself in Honor Club.
Yeah. Yeah. So AEW Dark. So with the ascension of Collision, right, and the still existing Rampage, AEW Dark and AEW Dark Elevation have basically been canceled. They are no more, and a lot of the
Redundant.
talent that was on those shows are probably just going to be featured on Rampage and Ring of Honor, and doing undercard matches on the two big shows.
I was listening to Lanza and Rich Kraich on Voices Wrestling before we did this show, and they compared what Rampage is to. It's going to be like Velocity,
Yeah.
a show like that. And they actually had an interesting theory that actually people will have a higher opinion of Rampage now, because for so long, again, I'm parroting here, but for so long people tried to say Rampage was SmackDown when it was never clearly that,
No.
right? It was always it was a B show. Tony said, "Oh, it's not going to be a B show," but like after CM Punk debuted, it's pretty obvious it's a B show. So now you do
Mhm.
have two shows again. Now Rampage can just be what Rampage is. It can just be matches, right? And that's fine if you just want to watch wrestling, which I need a little more, but I know some people just want to watch good wrestling. So, and enjoy watching local job guy versus, local mid card or a mid card guy. And that's fine. Wrestling's always had TV shows like that. I might not watch it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched Rampage in a long time. They have, I don't feel like I am obligated to watch something that's not interesting to me. And
agreed.
so like some people feel like they have, because of by virtue of being a wrestling fan, that they're obligated to watch everything, and I'm just not. That's just not me. And some people will be a little bit snobby. It's like, well, you would know this if you watch Rampage. I'm like, I don't give a shit about Rampage. I'm sorry, guys. Um,
That's why I subscribe to the Observer. It tells me
yeah.
everything I need to know when I'm not watching. What am I missing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You tell me.
Yeah. Well, that's why, I just watch Dynamite, and that's it. And so, that's not likely to change going forward unless they make Collision super freaking interesting. Will
I
I
have
add
to.
that to my repertoire? Because I just don't, it's a hard ask to get
It
somebody
is.
to fit 2 more hours, because guess what? I have a lot of interest, guys, and I'm getting my MBA. I got a lot of stuff going on. I got a full-time job. I got a family. And now you're asking me to put in 2 more hours, and that means I gotta take something out. Like, I don't just have like more time. I have to like remove something from my schedule to fit it back in. And so and we'll see how that works out. I don't know how it's all gonna work out, but I'm interested to see what Collision looks like going forward. Now, if Collision and Dynamite get immediately posted to Max, I think we're in business at this point. If we get all the pay-per-views and both TV shows, then I could just watch everything at my leisure and with no commercials. That'd be fantastic.
I think that we're learning. I think that we as wrestling fans obsess over cable ratings because they give us like instant feedback, right? It's as close to instant
Yeah.
feedback. We can see, we like to sit there and pretend like what's working and what isn't. And we all like to, try to sit there and go, okay, well, this is this is that, blah, blah, blah. And Dave will be the first one to tell you that ratings aren't everything, but everyone goes to ratings are everything. Like again, AEW ratings have been down lately. The show's been a little bit, this week's was all right, I thought, but like the show, I know you didn't care for. I think I liked it more than you did.
Yeah, I didn't really care for it.
I actually like the Adam Cole stuff specifically. I thought was pretty good.
I like that, and it took a nosedive for me.
I actually thought
That was
the Outcast thing was actually entertaining for once. But anyways, this isn't a review show.
right.
We all look at a television rating and think this is the end all be all. When in reality, there's a lot of metrics that define success, and we don't know what television networks want. Because again, you have these dorks who are saying Warner Brothers not happy with Tony. Their ratings are slipping. Ratings are slipping. Ratings are slipping. Yet they're
Yeah.
giving them more money and are happy and asking for more television programs. But some guy who has a Brock Lesnar or AVI is going to sit there and tell me they know more. So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean,
They just
yeah, no, they must not be happy. Although they just gave him AEW All Access, they have Rampage, they have Dynamite. Now we're getting AEW Collision. Oh, and we're on the verge of striking a deal with their streaming service and
and we just
becoming
sold
just a huge part of the portfolio.
70,000 tickets in the UK.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like ratings is not really a barometer of it. It's just the only reportable metric that we get on a regular basis that we have to talk about, but it's not the only barometer of success. We'll take AEW, like at the same week that the ratings dropped quite a bit. Um, the ticket sales for Wembley went up. Pay-per-view numbers have stayed strong. Big show ticket sales are selling out all the big shows, right? Some of the dynamites are probably a little bit down, and that's fine. But overall, everything seems to be up. Merchandise sales are up. Everything else is up. WWE, year over year, they're actually up percentage from last year, but
They're
they
the
had
only thing. They're the
they're
only
the only
thing
thing.
that's up,
Yeah, they're
right?
the only
And
thing, but
credit to
they're
them.
still
You
yeah,
got to give them credit. They're the only thing that's
yeah,
up. AEW is down, but I mean, like, they're still a top 10 again in a week where they got kicked. Okay, they had 776,000 viewers this week, Nielsen
yeah,
wise. It was number 8
yeah.
during the playoffs. So fine, what else is going to take over that? Do you know how much it costs to run a movie? For
To
TNT
to
to run
for
to run a movie, just an average
oh
movie,
oh 30,000. I have no idea.
$5 million.
Oh wow.
hmm Now you see why now you see the appeal of professional wrestling.
Yeah,
It's cheap programming that does good ratings, right? And it's not always about winning the time slot. It's about staying competitive, right? You don't it's hard to win unless you're TNT and have the NBA. They're gonna win. If you have
hmm
the NHL or the NFL, the NHL rarely wins. The NFL, you're gonna win. The rest of the time, man, you're trying to stay above water,
yeah,
right? And it's
yeah.
expensive.
Yeah, and so the point that I was making is ratings is a metric, but just because that metric is down, you still have all these other metrics. You have ticket sales, you have merchandise, you have pay-per-view, you have international, you have all this other stuff. For instance, Impact, right? Our old friends at Impact, they have sold out 5 out of 6 events that they've done this year. And they were just in Chicago this past weekend and they oversold the building.
Mhm.
They had to keep creating more space and more space because they, for both shows, and they actually sold more than they did their first time being there in years that last year. Right. And they're going to be running 6 events there this year. And they sold all that, but their ratings are down like 13% year over year, or no, 38% in the demo, 13% overall. You can't really, like they're not all interconnected all the time. So you got to really, the ratings are what they are. They're not the most accurate way to measure things, but there's a lot of ways to measure success.